Welcome to the Joanne Avison podcast. I'm starting a little playlist called The Law of Three, just for the fun of it, because there's so many things that happen in bodywork and movement work and working with people that the Law of Three is a kind of segue. So indulge me and see if you get anything from this. I wanted to start off with a poem that I've had in my imagination, in my memory for many, many years. And the author of that poem was a man called Piet, Hein, who was a poet living and spent his life in Copenhagen in Denmark. And he was also a polymath, very brilliant mind, designed exquisite things and had amazing theories relating to ellipses and geometry, and really had the kind of mind that you would come across if you were fascinated by people like Leonardo da Vinci and Buckminster Fuller and Kenneth Snelson. People who have this multi-dimensional approach, hence the term polymath. The poem. This poem is called TTT, as in T for time. TTT. Put up in a place where it's easy to see the cryptic admonishment TTT. When you feel how depressingly slowly you climb, it's well to remember that things take time. Isn't that brilliant? I think that's just such a brilliant poem. And these poems are called Grooks, Grooks, Grooks by Piet Hein, Piet, new word Hein. And I really recommend you to buy the little books called the Grooks. I have more than one of them and have taken much delight in reading them. But why this particular one? Well, we consider fascia to be the tissue of temporality. The tissue of time and timing in the human body. Why? Well, because it tells the time. It tells the story of the time that you've spent in it, growing it, adapting it, changing its shape, managing it, becoming who you are through it as an embryo, self-organizing, and managing the timing of how you adapt. Now, that sounds quite abstract, but in real life, I've spent this weekend with my beloved colleague, Paul Thornley, teaching in a private studio in London. And what we were doing basically was introducing micro-movements, but with the logic behind them and also ways of applying them within and around the existing familiar repertoires and so-called protocols of that particular Pilates studio. Very brilliant one. And we had the opportunity to work in real live time. Not that working on Zoom isn't real live time, it is. But the sense of time and timing when we work on Zoom is very, very different. And I'm going to talk about that in a separate podcast. But for this one, I want to talk about the fact that things take time. And things give time. And if we give ourselves time to incorporate, corpus means body, so incorporate, to embody the things that we're doing and trying, whether it's for the first time or the 100th time, our relationship to them and the timing of those things changes. What do I mean? Well, when we're working with micro movements, and I've heard people describe micro movements as mini versions of macro movements. No, that's not what micro movements are at all. That definition doesn't work for me even vaguely. Certainly, it's not part of what Paul and I teach. The essence of micro movement is frequency. And what micro movements do is they wake up very, very subtle frequencies in the human body. Or more so, in our proprioceptive sense, which is what the fascia provides, our sense of ourselves in space and time. Where are we in space? Where are we in time? How do we work? And what we really honed in on this weekend was how eager and enthusiastic everybody was to learn new things, to incorporate new ideas. And every single one of us in the room came up against, I want to do this now. I want to be able to do this fully now. And while I was observing that, I was very fascinated because I know myself, I think everything's got to be done very quickly. We're trained, if you go on Instagram and you look up some fabulous guru about business, it's always about acting fast, acting quickly, pivoting in the moment. But what I'm becoming more and more aware of is that that's appropriate when it's appropriate, but it isn't when it's not. Sometimes we need to press pause and give ourselves time to take something in or take something on and work with it a little bit at a time. And what I mean by that is we were working with some ball work and some band work, and it wasn't like your standard ball work and band work because we don't work in that way. But what we were first coming up against was all of our expectations as a group. And then we were all coming up against looking at each other to see who could do what and why and when and where. And then we came up against, there were sort of fears and concerns that kind of bubbled through the room for everybody. And then as it took its time, the process was tried out, played with. And as presenters and teachers, Paul and I are so familiar with group dynamics that we worked with everybody to find excitement and laughter and curiosity and watch how each one of us had a completely unique way of taking the time to find a way in, and then play with whatever it was we were presenting in that moment. And while I watched, I became so curious and so conscious of how time being taken or being given requires a kind of a permission. So this podcast is really about permission to take time. Things take time. And when we're not present, when we're busy fretting or worrying about how to deal with something, it's as if our time gets hijacked. Our time to breathe, our time to wonder, our time to be curious, our time to not know, we have to give ourselves permission to not know, becomes hijacked by this almost panic that we've got to know now and we've got to be able to do it quickly and we've got to be good at it and we've got to get the approval of the teacher or our colleagues or not look an idiot compared to everybody else. And all this stuff comes up for all of us. And, even when Paul, my colleague, my dearly beloved colleague, says things that I haven't experienced before or demonstrates something that I would have done differently in a yoga class to the way he might have done it in a Pilates class. And I suddenly think, oh my God, have I been doing it wrong all this time? Oh my goodness. And I get self-conscious that I haven't taken enough time to study it or understand it fully. Am I going to look stupid? Am I going to sound like I don't know what I'm talking about? Or whatever fear comes up in that moment. And somebody I came across recently suggested that we are sometimes in such a hurry to get out of what we think is our pain, our discomfort, our queries, our worries, our concerns, our anxiety. We're so anxious not to feel it that we're racing to the next moment to get to the end of the one we're in. And actually, that's the hamster wheel. The hamster wheel that we find ourselves in, turning, is, oh my God, when am I going to get to the time when I can actually have the time to have the time? Does that make sense? I know it doesn't, but I think some of you might know what I mean. And I thought to myself, hang on. What does that mean? I'm running in a hamster wheel, trying to get out of the moment I'm in. What does that mean? And last week, I had to go to the dentist for some specialist treatment. If I tell you I loathe the dentist, trust me, that's an understatement. Why do I loathe the dentist? Well, when I was quite young, I had a wisdom tooth removed badly, and it hemorrhaged. And I was in a bit of a pickle for several days. Let's put it like that. So the idea of dentists and dentistry is something that's like my entire body withdraws, almost in resistance to the time when it first happened. You can call it a trauma if you like, but I don't want to put it in that box. I want to be specific about, and it was traumatic for sure, but it was like it was crystallized in my tissue at that point in time. And my question was, can I dissolve that? Can I not be hijacked by that time in my life that was decades ago? That was my question, am I not being here in time because I'm so afraid from a previous time that I've got to get out of this time as fast as possible to get out of it? So picture me last week. I'm in the dentist chair. I found a dentist I love and trust. She's put 6 injections in my mouth of high levels of whatever they put in you to numb you, knowing that it doesn't take very easily in me. God knows. And I'm lying there already miserable. I literally can feel myself. I'm already miserable. I'm lying there miserable because I absolutely know I'm not going to enjoy the next half hour. Not one bit. Not one bit. And there's INRD's music playing in the background. Is that supposed to calm my nerves? Really? And she is very, very sweetly and kindly saying, you're doing so well every time she goes near my mouth. And I'm remembering what I teach, which is in through the nose, out through the mouth, breathe, be calm, all the stuff that's on these YouTube videos that you hear me talk about. And anyone that's done yoga with me knows that part of my main theme is presence. Oh my goodness. And I'm lying there feeling like the biggest hypocrite on the planet because I can't be present. And I think to myself, why would I want to be present to this? And then I started giggling because I suddenly saw, imagine I'm on the yellow brick road and I suddenly saw how I was trying to let's pretend it was the carpet. I'm trying to pull the carpet towards me so that I can frog leap the folds into the end of this half hour. I could not finish what was taking place in that dentist's chair fast enough. I literally couldn't end it fast enough. And I thought, is that what's meant by you're busy running away from the present moment to get to the end of the process that you think you're in? So that you can, be in what you imagine the next nicer process is going to be. And I thought, oh my goodness, is this what it's about? Not when I can sit quietly at my desk in front of my camera and next to my microphone talking to you all about presence and yogic breathing. But when I'm lying in the dentist's chair feeling like a victim while someone's got all kinds of horrible things in my mouth telling me that it's making me better ultimately, but it's so painful that she had to give me 6 injections to numb it. And I'm paying for this pleasure. I mean, for goodness sake. And you can't breathe particularly well when someone's got their hands in your mouth, I'm telling you now. So I remembered the Grook. Things take time. That's all I could remember. TTT. The cryptic admonishment, TTT. And I was lying in the dentist's chair thinking, can I just breathe now and deal with now? And then I exhaled, can I just deal with now? And I became curious. And in that curiosity, I saw the shape or the color or the scent or the something, the sensory recall of my abject fear of what had happened when my wisdom tooth was removed. And I thought, well, I haven't got that wisdom tooth anymore. And I gave myself permission to experience the time in the dentist's chair during the time in the dentist's chair. Instead of doing what I realized I was doing, which is rushing to the next half hour as fast as I possibly could get there. And I realized how much we do that in our lives. We can't get there fast enough. T. Put up in a place where it's easy to see the cryptic admonishment T. When you feel how depressingly slowly you climb, it's well to remember that things take time. So back to this fabulous weekend that we had with this gorgeous group, watching people of all different ages and stages of fitness and ability with Pilates and compassion for each other and their clients and their work. Kind of in a mixture of absolute excitement at some of the new and innovative things they were learning, but trying to navigate in time how that made sense to them and in what ways it made them rethink what they'd done before, but incorporate it into their practice. And I overheard a couple of people saying, wow, this is a lot. This is like complete overload. And I smiled and I said, yeah, because this isn't about your mind, your kind of the organized part of your mind that wants everything to have a beginning, a middle, and an end and all be one after the other and all learned chronologically and placed in order so that you can go through a process that you do well and you get 10 out of 10 at the end. This is like the human body in the round, and proprioceptively it's waking up aspects of your awareness, your instinct, your innate ability, the things you loved doing and the things that you hated doing through your life, and giving you time now to experience them differently because you're listening differently, because you're taking time differently. And you can give yourself permission to do it badly at first, to not know what on earth you're doing. That doesn't make you a bad person, doesn't make you a person that's an idiot. It means you and your body haven't organized that particular organization before. Why would you know? And then we came up against all these ideas of what's the right way and the wrong way. And then we started exploring what's the best way for me, with a real understanding of physiology and making sense of how we make sense of things. And we breathed with it, just kept breathing with it, trying things out, asking questions, having a laugh, giggling, letting it go, going to something else so that we couldn't dwell for too long on one thing. And I remember the phrase, the divine comes in chaos. And I thought, oh, maybe it's even about the quality of chaos we can create. Not bonkers chaos, but actually many magical things emerge from a kind of chaos. A chaos that disrupts what we've always done the way we've always done it. A chaos that says, what if I'm not rushing to get out of this minute? What if it's okay to be in this one? And what happened in the dentist chair was that I slowed down. It felt as if I was slowing down time and suspending my judgments of how unpleasant it was, and finding my way to curiosity. How is it going to be now? And when I did that yesterday with this group of people, everybody was however they were at that moment, having fun, playing, with finding out a different way of seeing something. And everybody started to realize that it was going to take time to unfold and unpack and organize and bring it into play. And they all talked about planning get-togethers over the next few weeks and months to do that. And it just felt so beautiful and exciting to have ignited things that were in a state that I call of Agnosis, which I think is a process of going from ignorance, in that we don't know something, not like it's a bad thing, through a process of Agnosis where we ignite the possibility of finding out, on our way to Gnosis, when it becomes a deep knowing. Gnosis spelled Gnosis, a deep knowing in our being through having done it in time, over time. We call that practice. We call that repetition. But in the human body, it's permission to take time, to establish, to play, to be with something happening in time. And when you can do that, you can climb through the most amazing processes of learning, of creating possibilities, of making a difference to people. It's absolutely magical. And I think time is a crucial element. So do yourself a favor. Look up Piet, Hein, look up Grooks, and look up TTT, and have some fun drawing that tiny, tiny poem and sticking it on your wall somewhere where you'll see it often. Because I think you might have a lot of fun with it. Take care. God bless. And look out for the other elements of the law of three.